Let me bring in Kaizen. He's putting his hand up. Kaizen?
Okay, so I think first of all, we're having the discussion at the wrong level of resolution because we keep on talking about whether free speech is allowed. And I think we all agree there's a degree of free speech that is always permissible. And there's also concerns about gray areas where someone isn't necessarily violating free speech principles, but they are being hateful. So just to be clear, some of the things that Kanye is saying are outright hateful, but they don't violate free speech. The thing that Shiloh said is outright hateful, but it doesn't violate free speech. So the real question is, how do we get people to use their right to free speech responsibly? Because silencing people is not going to solve the problem of hatred. It's not going to solve anti-Semitism. It's not going to solve anti-white hatred. It's not going to solve racism against Black people. So if we look at the Shiloh case, for instance, we should examine, well, why is this woman saying this kind of hateful thing to a little 5-year-old kid? And why are people rallying behind her? And I think it's because on both sides, we're seeing tribalism. We're seeing Black people hold Carmelo to a double standard where he gets protected because he's Black, even though he killed someone. On Shiloh's side, obviously what Shiloh did is not nearly as bad as murdering someone, but the same idea of a double standard is being applied.
Yes.
There's white people on Shiloh's side saying, well, Black people did this to us, so we're going to rally behind this. And both sides are rallying to the lowest common denominator. So rather than talking about what are people allowed to say, let's speak normatively about what should people be saying. Because I think Black people would agree that if it had been a white kid who had killed a Black kid, they would not be sending him money. I think white people would agree. If it had been a Black woman who called a little white kid a racial epithet, they would not be sending her money. So the real question is, how do we solve this racial animus and division and make both sides feel heard? Because I think what's going on is both sides are expressing pain. Black people are feeling discriminated against and they're acting tribally. White people are feeling discriminated against and they're acting tribally. Both sides have legitimate grievances that are not being heard. And instead we're making the conversation about free speech when it's not about that.
You know what? It's really interesting. I think you're really onto something there. And I blame social media completely for fueling this tribalism, where people feel like it doesn't matter whether facts should steer them a different direction or should change their opinion or make them to see common sense. If your side is taking a kicking over something, the instinctive reaction of so many people on social media now is to jump in and blindly support the indefensible if it comes to it, if it, in their eyes, somehow addresses the balance. So we had a very big fallout to the interview I did with Lily Gaddis, this, in my view, young white racist